It's Runbound NMT, the People's Fitness Professional. Mikey Fever will be in soon, shortly. So will the brother Sharif Bey will come in soon, shortly. We have the Dr. Paul Dyer with us as usual every Wednesday. We build on masonry. Dr. Paul Dyer is an emotional scientist with a plethora of degrees in education. He's also, I'm going to call him a martial arts grandmaster. Some martial arts grandmasters don't like to be called that, but I'm going to say that, I respect what you do. You know what I'm saying? I respect you as a grandmaster, So that's what he is. That's what he does. Dr. Paul Dyer, can you give him a little more detail of about yourself if they don't know?
Yeah, I'm now considered to be the grandmaster of grandmasters and things like that. I was in the top 100, voted as the top 100 most influential grandmasters in the United States. Um, I just have to be fortunate enough to be around at the time where I was the student when the older people were still teaching before they passed on. Um, and I was able to travel to them. Now I think a lot of martial artists travel a lot, which is amazing. But back then in the 70s and the early 80s, not many people traveled to 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 visit um, certain people around the world, and I was able to be able to do that. And I think I just was fortunate enough or gifted enough or hungry enough to be in their homes and study with them, eat with them, and be blessed with them, and do those things and learn with them, and because martial arts is such a way of life. It's how you eat, what you do, how you walk, how you speak, and it's just so much. It's not just because everything it is function and form. It's and just to watch, um, to be with Ted Wong, one of Bruce Lee's best friends, and to study with Ted Wong,
Mhm.
and just to watch how he carried himself and how he loved his wife, and just things like that, and how he stepped, and just watching him walk up a stairs was like poetic to me. How he ate, it was things like that to me. If you could spend time with someone who is a mastery of so many skills, that to me is the art. So
Got you, got you. Before we go into masonry, we have a question about martial arts. The brother Tariq said, Did you work under Moses Powell? Okay, okay. Did you ever work under Moses Powell?
yeah, I did study in some of a lot of his seminars in Moses Powell, and that's because of the jiu-jitsu, the judo I was working on, and Dr. Moses Powell, and how he studied, and being in New York, he trained a lot of us Bronx kids. Um, so I would say working in those clinics. So I was not a what you call one of his belted students. I was one of his clinic students.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So, because he gave a lot away at that
Mm.
time, and keeping us on the track of being hard in those 70s, and how to maintain the justice, because he was still on black justice. So it was about training us soldiers to be on black justice. So yeah, so that was part of what I was training under.
I had no idea. Wow. Tariq. That was a great question right there. Wow. You helped me get to know him a little bit better now. Um, Go into masonry. Peace, Leo the Lion. To go into masonry, things we don't know. I would like to discuss the compass, the square. Um, yeah, I'd like to discuss that and the G in the middle. I know we went into that a little bit, but whatever you can give us today, can you give us the basics of that, the compass and the square?
It's simple. The compass. It's about direction. Um, and the compass comes from the sun. Um, Remember, the sun gives you your coordinates. It gives you your north, your south. You can gather everything from the sun. It's sad that many people don't know how to read a compass. Um, it's actually it's mind blowing how people don't know how to read a compass or read a map or yeah. It breaks my heart. But all my kids, they know how to read a compass. They know how to read the terrain. So I don't. But anyway, but the compass is about direction. It's understanding because you can never get lost if you understand where you are.
Mhm.
You can only get lost if you don't know where you are. Because once you leave where you are, that's the unknown, right?
Mhm.
Getting back to where you are, you can always start again.
Right.
Okay. So the compass is just about navigating. Now, listen, in metaphorically, we can use all the metaphors we want, but just on the compass alone and non metaphorically, you have to understand where you are so you can map out where you're going.
Mhm.
Now, the study of the stars and the study of how the planets move, those things are important. Daylight, nighttime, all those things is how we navigate our lives.
Right.
I mean, so if you can get into how we use it in terms of progress and how we use it in terms of thinking and things like that. And that gets into the esoterical type things. But it's literally not understanding who you are.
Mhm.
And I think that's where people remain lost. They just don't understand their point of origin.
Mm. I like that. Any 5%ers on watching this? Because the lessons talk about that in the 1 to 40. Lessons talk about that in the 1 to 40 if any 5%ers online. But anyway, that was deep. Yes, yes, sir. I like that.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, a whole lot of sense. A whole lot of sense. Exactly. So the compass is used for that. Now, the square.
Do you okay? Do people know what a square is?
I'm gonna say the square is a ruler.
No, it's a way of measuring.
Right.
Because a ruler is what it is. It's a straight stick.
Got you.
A compass is a way of measuring in what
And
manner?
okay.
It measures in 360 in degrees. A ruler measures in inches and centimeters.
Okay.
A compass measures in 360 degrees.
Right.
But it can
Jam Master
also
J is in the building. What's up, Jam Master J?
know what? No. What's up, brother? What's up, Dr. Dyer?
what's up? But
Good.
it can also so we often look at measuring things on a flat plane. Measurement in a geometric term is also measures in levels. Remember, we live more than a flat plane. We measure in a geometric level too, up and down, different angles. So we create geometric shapes. So that, I think that's where people get confused again. We just don't live on a flat surface. We live in a multiple plane world, in angles and shapes, which creates distances and purposes.
We got okay, self elevation. So the degree I was talking about was the 14th degree, and the one of 40 when it asked who is the 85. And so we were talking, so Dr. Paul Dyer was saying as far as the compass is concerned, it basically gets you to figure out your origin and where your starting point is. And in the 14th degree, when it's referenced to 85, it talks about them not knowing their origin in this world and not knowing who the true and living God is. So that's what that was about.
That's deep. That's deep.
So now, so do you understand the compass, right? So I think people still, it's like, so we got to stop thinking metaphorically. We got to start thinking really mathematical terms, right? Because mathematics is the language of the universe. So we just don't always spin on one flat plane. We spin also on other dimensions. Now we can connect those lines of angles to create other lines of angles, which creates other purposes and avenues.
That's beautifully said, man. I just came in, brothers. So forgive me.
Okay, so Mikey Fever, we're talking about the compass and the square.
Oh yeah. Well, he just said it makes sense. Compass square is it's basically the measurement of, again, as he mentioned, the origin. You gotta be calculative before every attack, before any thought you put out there. You must think, reflect on it. As we said last week, measure twice, cut once. And you gotta gauge everything that you're doing. All the tools that you're provided with must gauge your actions, your character, thoughts, movement, space, time. It has to be accurate and not going out of bounds. Staying within the boundaries of the law.
Okay, so the God self-elevation says, does a compass and a square teach me who I am? It gives me a starting point to what? Not challenging for teaching purposes.
Allegory and symbols. That's what it is. You got to look at all the tools that you were given, and you got to, basically, as they say, do the knowledge first before the wisdom. You understand what that tool is used for, and apply. Apply the science of that tool into your personal life, because everything in the universe is calculated and measured.
So I would answer his question. That is, I don't know if it's a he, but self elevation. It says, "Does the compass and square teach me who I am?" It actually does, because if you don't understand who you are, then your compass is actually broken.
Deep.
And this is where, if you don't know, because like even in the military, and I'll do it this way, you can know that you're at 130 degrees, right? You put it on your map, and you know that you're at 130 degrees from north. And you're like, okay, I'm at 130 degrees from north, measured from north. And you feel like you're still lost. Well, that's where you need help understanding. So where do you have to go? Well, I need to go on this particular map, I know I have to go to this terrain structure. But you still don't know how to get from 130 degrees to this terrain because you don't know how to orientate yourself. So you ask for help. You may still know that you're at 130 degrees because you put your compass in, but you don't know how to orientate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're still confused.
Exactly.
That's where help and assistance comes in. Because right now, technically, you're still blind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we've talked about this many, many, many times before. You're still knocked around like a thief because you have not self-examined how to ask for help, to get assistance, to orientate yourself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's
So to piggyback off of what the God is asking, so when you ask for help, how does that asking for help get me to understand or know myself more?
Are you talking about as far as like what, masonry, or
Yeah,
we
yeah.
still?
Or-
Oh, basically, I'm not gonna get much into it. But when you went into the princess, you just a neophyte. You're new. You don't know how to navigate yet. You're considered a baby, and there's certain things you can't say certain things. Let me know if I'm going too far, Dr. Dyer. But
No,
it's certain
because you're listening and learning, and
yeah,
everything is a lesson.
yeah. So basically, you can't spell things out, but the symbology of the ritual, what you go through as an into the apprentice, you realize what through everything is that you're on your own. It's about listening to your inner voice, your inner chi, your inner God. So as Ron mentioned a few episodes ago, when he was blindfolded, some people just take it as face value. I'm just blindfolded. No, there's a meaning behind it.
Yeah, it's your other senses now have to come.
Yeah.
Right. But I want to make sure that this question is answered thoroughly, because
Mhm.
this is a really good question, and we were trying to get somewhere with this one here.
Oh
So
yeah.
because this is it's extremely important.
Now it's gonna tie back to it.
But
So go ahead.
once the question is asked,
Mhm.
right? Once we get the help, we get the
Yes.
help now.
Mhm.
Now, how does that lead me to knowing myself more?
Okay, so once you orientate yourself, once we get you orientated, now you can start following your alignment to your path. Not my path, your path. And that's where mentorships and brotherhoods and things are along the way. And that's where oaths are important, because no one should lead someone astray.
And don't forget, you have your volume of sacred laws, which is also a light that you utilize as well. So you have your which part of your compass is your Bible, your own research and information, studying from the brothers, getting advice from them. That's how it works as well.
Right. Okay. Now, all right. Understood. Now, because I know who I'm talking to when it
Mhm.
comes to like 5%ers like to get information, to get things broken down to the smallest, form, right?
Mhm.
So Dr. Dyer explained it well. Okay, cool. So now I'm oriented. Now I'm getting the help. Now I'm getting the help.
Mhm.
Now the help is leading me down to my own personal path. My
Mhm.
own personal path.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, how do they figure out what your own personal path is to lead you down that road?
Study. Well, I'm gonna make it simple as possible. Is utilizing your five senses and studying. That's all it is. Taking everything not as face value, really dissect what you're ingesting and
Oh,
put it back out
I,
there.
and I think
Okay.
I I don't want to push people off this is not fast.
Mm-mm.
Let's slow down there. I think sometimes we want to quick to answer, but we're slow to listen. And listen more slowly so we can understand slower. Because if we take the compass and the if we take the compass and we take the square and we start measuring of our understanding, it goes in different angles and different. It's not just one plane. So if someone says, "Oh, I got it," and runs with it, wait a minute, what level plane are you going in? Because there are dimensions about this. There are dimensions about you. There's balance to this.
Dr. Dyer, I want to add on to what you said and what the brothers Simeon Bay and Project Baby said. The compass, like as I always say on this podcast, as above, so is below. You have your rough ash law represents you. See, I'm not dropping that much. That's your physical being.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? And the compass is basically, let's put it as the mental, because you are using your mental at that. That's why I say it's all a science. So you're measuring as above, so is below. You're subduing your passions. You know what I'm saying? To have greater virtue. That's all it is. Your temperament, your strengths.
I want to jump in on this. I like
Go
this.
ahead.
This is a great conversation. Yeah, I'm just jumping in kind of late. Apologies for my lateness. My class ran over. But anyway, I love what you said about the rough ashlar or the ashlar, period.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just make it real. I'm going to try to really super simplify it.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on a work site where we got to build a building. And your task is to make bricks that we use for the building. Well, if your bricks are like off, we can't use it to make to build the building.
So the foundation is everything.
And then somebody else has to check your work to make sure. What are they going to check it with?
Compass, square.
Well, yeah, okay. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be a standard by which your work is gauged by. I used.
Yeah, of course. No. I said the same thing earlier, so don't feel bad. Yeah, because I was just listen.
There's got to be a standard by which your work, because also too, remember, see, we have in the More Science of America social duties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every living thing is bound by accordance to every other living thing. So, best believe the work I do on me will affect other people, or the lack of work I do on me will affect other people.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it will. So we need, right, to make sure our actions are right.
Right. Exactly.
I watch cooking shows, and I've been on sites where we have to check each other's work, because if it's not done right, then people get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a meticulous by it. But the people I'm working with don't mind being checked and rechecked, right?
How about that?
Because they know there's a standard. Everybody who is of standard, check me.
That's right, brother.
Because I know my work has to be there. Otherwise, there's a problem that could come that could harm us all. So check me, please.
Yeah, of course.
Because
right?
the objective and the effort is more important than the individuals involved.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No one is above the program.
Oh yeah, in plain English, it's the chain, the weakest link on your chain. That's all it is.
There you go.
And that all comes back to what we do. But to add on.
So hold on, Mike. So if someone has a problem with being checked, they just never been taught the training philosophy of being put through a quorum
Mm-hmm.
of that type of exercise where they're held to a standard.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
That's all. They've just never been there. And not many people put themselves in a situation that their ego has to be trained out of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's what Brother Ron is speaking to, learning how to cheerfully accept responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, like the doctor was talking about earlier about, there's multiple angles, right, on that to that compass, right? There's different points of measurement on that square. What?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but what are we measuring? So relative to the question that was asked earlier that I saw, how does the compass in the square, study the compass in the square, improve me? Well, you have to apply it to you.
Mm.
What are we applying it to?
Exactly.
We use the compass to measure all of our lines, make the corners of our, straighten out the crooked places of the way, and make the corners of our conduct square.
Mm-hmm.
So I apply it to my conduct.
Mm-hmm.
We use the compass to draw circles around our passions and desires and keep them within the bounds of righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
So I apply the compass to my passions and desires. Right? How many of us, including ourselves, at times have a problem with impulse control?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. And also,
Sharif said it last week. The first Negro I have to check is me.
exactly. And know that when you step into a lodge, whatever school of thought you go to,
Yes.
you have to go in to receive.
Yep.
You can have your ideas from your own research, your preconceived notions, but you got to go in there and to receive. That's all it is. You receive, and then you decipher what works for you.
When we first got on the show, and I know Ron asked me about my martial arts and stuff like that, and I've been blessed and studied for a long, long time around the world, and hold on. And every time I go train with someone, be with someone in their house or wherever it is, I am humbled to, one, be invited. There, I don't have any, I don't take anything of my knowledge with me.
Mm.
There's nothing. I come in knowing absolutely nothing because I am there to learn from them. Not to bring what I know,
Correct.
but to learn from them. Now, when I leave, I go home, I write my notes, I have my notepad, I write most of the night, I study it, I remember words and things that are said, and then I put it into my kitchen of things I've learned, and then I start to cook with it and macerate with it, and then I start to season it together and be like, now this is beautiful. And then I taste it and all those things I learned today, that's how I come up with my flavor.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's how I go into each session.
Got you. Now, this question here: has the hero's journey, as reflected in myths and stories, been preserved within Freemasonry to serve as a guiding light for those seeking self-discovery and transformation?
Awareness Daily be asking questions he know the answer to already.
Yeah. Is he referring to the Prometheus story? Are you referring to Prometheus?
Awareness Daily.
You know what I think he's referring to, Brother Mikey?
Mm.
I think he's referring to the Hiramic legend.
Ah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It could be that too, because some people would take they'll take the Prometheus story and say, "Oh, it sounds like Lucifer's story." Because
Right.
remember, a lot of the world say Lucifer is bad, but if you really study Lucifer, you won't.
Right.
Not what you think.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but yeah, the Hiram story makes sense.
Yeah.
The legend makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Harem, you said like Harem Abiff?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Correct.
So now we were talking about the compass and the square. We spoke about the G before, right? And we said the G was Gnosticism and etc. What else in that symbol can you pull out of it that no one really knew about?
Here's the thing. I think so being one of the oldest practicing orders that has many names. It's signs, symbols, and emblems that has been marked on this planet not just for people to use it as a sign to be like turn left, turn right. Remember, a lot of signs and symbols and emblems aren't used like we use signs today. Like, oh, that's a store. How do you know? Because the sign says store. It was markings for people to know that this information lies here.
Mm-hmm.
This information was once here. To find out where the information has gone, you have to then go someplace else. Okay? This information is being spread, and we'll use these type of symbols to let you know how it's being spread. So the things that are put into the architecture of the world has been recognized by the order for thousands of years. Okay? Like the trident symbol, the pineapple,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
right? The um, the three doorway,
Yeah. Even
right?
the scales.
Right,
What about the lions in front of libraries and all that?
right. Look at their hands. Not all lions in front of library are equal
Mm-hmm.
because you have to look at the paw.
I wanted to add to that too, Dr. Dyer. I know you and Refight know this. Yeah, or yeah, probably came across this information. From what I see, when I see the square and compass with the G in the middle, if those who know their Bible have an idea of the Temple of Solomon on the porch, what those pillars represent, you can look at each side and you see what to me, when I see the square and compass, I see the two pillars in the middle G is me.
Right.
Strength, beauty, and wisdom. We just cross at the top. It's all one. It all comes down from one. So that's how I see it.
That's a beautiful breakdown.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing
I see it like this. I'm glad you put that. That was deep. I like that, brother Mikey. In the More Science Symbol of America, we have a chapter 25. Right. Matter of fact, watch this. In the Chinese fraternal organizations, secret society, right?
Mm-hmm.
one of the names of one of the old secret societies was called the Tinde Woi, which means the Heaven and Earth Society. And it stands for three things: heaven, earth, man.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Heaven relates to time. Earth relates to space. Man relates to effort. So the compass, time, the square, space, the G, energy. And we have a saying. We have a chapter called the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic Nations, chapter 25. Ye are the children of one Father, provided for by His care, and the breast of one mother has given you son.
That's it.
See.
All right. I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna get back to self elevation. Thank you, brother Tariq. Thank you, brother Tariq. I appreciate the $5. You know, any donations, we really appreciate it. We don't care how much it is. You know what I mean? It's going to build this platform. You know, it takes a lot to just run this right here. You know, it takes a lot. So Part and Self brothers just got on a call from the seventh supreme, from the God Supreme. The compass and square represents a lot of things. My main point is to the symbology coherently to man. A lot of these teachings are metaphoric.
I think he's referring to, the geometry of man. But that's still geometry. We're still talking about the measurement, the matter, and you're getting into the science weeds of what I love myself, but that's the human part of it, right? That's how it's connected to us, and that he's not. The question is yes, right? But it's still so. Remember, remember the compass goes in many angles. So if you're trying to really just understand one angle, I'm going to say yes. If you just want to speak on, so can we break down 10 geometric angles all tonight? No, on 3 different levels? They absolutely no, because the answer is no, right? Because that's how it moves.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's how the universe is formed, right? Just think, Thea that hit Earth. Thea blew into Earth. And that's how a moon was blown up and into our atmosphere.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Brother Sharif, you hear this right?
Yeah, I heard it. I was listening.
Oh man. Okay. All right. All right. Go ahead, because I like that. Okay. Now, brother Tariq, why did we the Moors teach the craft to the European?
We don't hold information. We're very inclusive. We're not mine type of people.
No, we're not.
That's that European mindset.
We've been teaching them.
I'll take it a step further. Actually, not even a step further. It's just a simple thing, right? Just something simple, right? The present status quo in America allows you to get a good European education.
Exactly.
You understand? So it's not information. It's the fact that See, follow me, brother Tariq. The most important thing is who was doing the educating. And whose world, like we used to say in the 5% Nation, right? It's Allah's world manifest. Regardless of whose mind Allah's world is on.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So this is now what I just said is the reason why, upon the expulsion of the Moors, right, they also had to demonize the world view and the way we thought.
Mm-hmm.
So this very education that they gave, they outlawed and then kept it secret. But they outlawed it for the outside world, including their own.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because if their own practiced it after our expulsion, we could still take credit for it and say, yeah, that's ours.
Exactly. Bingo. Tell them, Reef.
See?
And it go back further.
Yeah.
Ancient Kemet, when they were running over there, when the Romans were running over there.
See,
what did they do at
understand,
the
we
end?
didn't necessarily follow me.
Mhm.
We took over Spain
Mhm.
and took over Europe. We took it over. So in terms of history, in the general sense, did it benefit Europe technologically, socially? Absolutely. It absolutely did. But it was ours. So who would take the credit for it?
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Fast forward. Here's another example. Follow me. Here's another example. And this is, I hope people don't take this the wrong way. What was our brother who was the scientist who made a whole bunch of things from peanuts?
George Washington Carver.
George Washington Carver.
Mm-hmm.
Great man. Great man. Great mind. But racist Europeans to this day will say, yeah, he was great because we taught him.
Mm-hmm.
You get it now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Got
Tell them.
Got you. So now, Compasses Square. Now, as far as influential people in society who were Masons, can you, off the top of your head, mention some names?
The astronaut,
Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong. You already
Buzz
know.
Aldrin.
Mm-hmm. Jesse Jackson.
Yeah.
Your boy,
Hitler.
I heard. Who?
Hitler.
Hitler. Your
Hitler?
boy.
Whoa.
Now I believe he was Third Reich. Oh, he was a brother.
Yeah,
too?
but he was a part of the Red Rose, which was an off.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. All right. There, he was up. Okay. Who else? You had him. Which president was that? Was it Ford?
Oh, what president wasn't?
Yeah, Kennedy. Except Kennedy, he was a Catholic.
And they didn't want him in
No.
because he was Catholic.
Yeah.
And
Quite a few people. I believe Elijah Muhammad was one they said.
Oh, he admitted he was.
Yeah, he was. Farrakhan is honorary.
Honorary.
Awareness Daily said Richard Pryor.
Yeah, Richard Pryor was one
Which
too.
Pryor was?
I heard Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
Friends Hall. Ron Brown. Mikey Fields. Sharif. Math Hoffa was just brought in.
And think about Mussolini and all those guys back then, even before the war, they told Adolf not to do what he wanted to do. And they were just like, yo, you can't do that. They had those conversations.
Yep.
They allowed him to go into Poland. Because Poland had the gold reserves. And the Europe needed the gold reserves. A lot of this stuff was like, how do we benefit?
Right. Any other names you can mention? Anyone?
Damn.
There's just
I'm sure that there's tons of people.
there's tons of people. I mean, like, what are you looking for? What continent?
Beethoven, Benjamin Banneker.
Yeah, which we could go by continent.
I mean, just here in America.
Francois Duvalier.
Shaq.
Yeah, Shaq is quite a few people who travel, man.
I think and I think
Jesus,
I think I know why Brother Ron is asking the question, but many of us, and I'm not saying us on this show, but our people in general, I'm sorry, and this isn't to look down on the craft. Emphasis. We place an undue emphasis. We place an undue emphasis on belonging to a fraternal organization. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because a part of us, and I mean just the general public of Asia, of our people, still think of it as like the fraternity of the smoky room of people, obscure people that run the world.
Yes.
I laugh at that. It's not like that.
I mean? Yeah.
It bothers me. It bothers me, and I don't want to mention all those other fraternal orders who whatever, the Greek orders and stuff, women and men. What bothers me, even in our own order, if you're not out there doing work, you can have your parties, you can dress up, you can dance your lines, but we still have work to do, and you're not getting any work done.
Exactly. I agree with you.
I know where I'm at when things need to be changed, and you're just passing hats. We need your faces. We need your bodies. We need you in the schools. I'm not saying some chapters aren't doing that, but if you hear when the president and someone's running for office, where are you? Where are you holding this? Where are you holding that? Where are you holding this? You know what I mean? We don't see you on the Washington lawn talking then, So either someone's in your pocket and keeping your mouth shut because you're not saying anything. You're not putting on, where's your platform? I'm not talking about your chapter platform. I'm talking about your charter platform.
Yep, they're not doing it.
They're not doing it.
And I'm glad you said that. And what Brother Reeves said, some people got a obscure thought about Masons, especially amongst Asiatic Black people. You sold your soul. You're riding a goat. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're keeping people back. Of course, exactly what I just said right there. You're right on frequency with that.
Right.
And no, it wasn't Masonry that kept Black people behind. It's individuals within the institution. Because if you go back and study the principle of the institution, it was not built for that. It was for men, a group of thinkers, enlightened individuals to come together for a better society.
Because if you're saying if Masonry, the question is did Freemasonry keep Black people behind?
Nope.
Is that what his question was?
Yeah.
Then you should blame your churches.
Thank you.
Ooh.
Yep.
You should blame your churches. Where were your churches when you were begging to go into the white schools? We could have been teaching ourselves.
No, your pastor sold you out. Not all, but majority of pastors wanted integration.
Your pastor sold you out.
Yeah.
When your Southern Conference was fighting the Northern Conference, talking about, don't you want to denounce Martin Luther King because he's causing trouble? And the FBI got in their pockets up there in San Francisco and New York, and they were bickering back because of what he was doing down there. Boy, you better know your history.
Now I'm gonna get loose, and then you carry your Bible with you every Sunday where it tells you feet like brass and hair like wool, but you got Johnny Depp on your wall, hanging up at the Last Supper, and every time you know. No, let's keep it real. Like they talk about masonry, and like I said, like Reeve said, the order will defend itself. But we
Right.
have in every urban community, we have 20 churches on every sidewalk and a few chicken shops, and not one thing there for the people. You go to your church, you could say you have some issues at home or whatever financial struggles you go through. They'll tell you keep on praying. Church roof goes bad, the church needs money. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Now, real quick, thank you, Project Baby, and me podcast. Thank you for the $10. Do you how do you become a Mason?
You know, we answered that once, right? And we kind of said that we know people have bad experiences when they seek out one of those lodges who just want to dress up and act a fool and argue, and then they're not willing to put in the work. So I apologize for those lodges, because we have like Brother Sharif said, we can't get around human issues. That's why you still have some churches that are great churches, but you got some churches that these people start talking nastiness because it's still a human issue.
I need a jet. I need a private jet.
So how do you become a Mason? Well, they say you have to ask one to be one, but you do have to ask one.
Here we go.
And it starts in the heart. You'll know when you're ready for that. Because you can ask one to be one, and when it's time to step in,
but the problem is, you may ask a nasty one.
Well, here's the other part too that we should consider as well, that Brother Mikey just said refers to. What are we actually talking about in the question? How do I become a Mason? What are we actually talking about? Are we talking about someone who is trying to build their character? Because that's
different.
That's a definition of Mason.
That's right.
Are we talking about somebody who's trying to join a fraternal organization?
That's different.
What are we talking about here? See, that it has to be said, and it's very, very important. You know, a lot of times we presume one because of the other.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to join the fraternity? Oh, you must want to improve yourself. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's the print. That is the ideal. But come on, let's keep it a buck. A lot of times people are joining just a social club.
Right, just like a social club.
There you go.
And you know what? I'm gonna just add this, not to disrespect or make, that's why when I went into the lodge and I realized I went in there to improve myself, but I saw that a lot of the brothers in there were in there to social climb.
Yes.
So that was definitely not a place for me.
Right. Right.
It's not it shouldn't be like that. As soon as you go in, you got to, every day is a learning experience. As Reese said, you got to test your work. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to all the rights. I'm neither Prince Hall, and I'm with a different order, and it's, you really test your work. Reese know what I'm talking about. They're going to test your work.
Level of respect for your lodge, bro.
And they're going to really test your work. You know what I'm saying? I could say it like this. Any day could be your last. You mess around and find out, and Reef know about that.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll be taken off this earth.
Yeah.
Play around.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it like that.
I got a high level of respect for your lodge, bro.
So it's different. You got to know what you're doing, and you got to learn to embrace, love yourself, love your brother.
Right.
It's important to know your lessons and to be charitable with the community. Which a lot of people don't have, and really work on your passions, work on your rough edges, man. Because we all here to learn, to ascend, not be stuck.
It's a shame that every time you ask for help in anything, the same 2, 3, 4 people show up. You already know that's a large issue right there.
This right here could be a lodge right here. What Ron and I was doing with Project Africa Restoration was the same thing. People would consider a fraternity, which it was. And those all basic principles of doing good, faith, hope, charity for the community within ourselves. Mm-hmm. And that's it. There's nothing mystery about it. Like, it's not like that, people.
Right.
It's not like that.
Right.
Okay. So in closing, if you can give people any information about what they should know about masonry that they don't know.
I'll tell you this: it's everywhere. The signs and symbols that's been carried around history, it's everywhere because it's carried on through architecture. Mm-hmm. And it's meant to do that.
Gotcha. Literally everywhere, because I see
it. It is.
I see it myself. Now, Brother Sharif.
Yes, sir. I would say to people, broaden, broaden your horizons, people. Because it's everywhere. Follow me. Because it's everywhere. What's everywhere? The symbolism, sure, the symbolism's everywhere. The principles are everywhere.
Yeah.
Freemasonry did not start at a tavern in England in 1717. And it wasn't always called Freemasonry.
No.
See? Yeah, broaden your horizons.
Stop listening to these fools on the internet that be on here shouting, talking about the Freemasons and all that. They never even walk through a lodge door.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's another. Oh, thank you, Brother Mikey. Don't listen to people who haven't done it.
Yeah. David Icke, liar. All these dudes that be online talking about this, what Mason. They don't know what masonry is.
They have no idea.
No idea. Bunch of liars. Need to get hit by a car. Anyway,
don't listen to people that haven't walked it. They ain't walked it. If they ain't walked it, they don't know.
But it's funny. I actually think they're helping keep the secrets of Freemasonry. So they're doing their job.
That's a good point. Brother Mikey, anything the people should know about masonry that they don't know?
It is beautiful once you get involved. Once you immerse yourself into it and really, let me keep it real with you. Every association has their good and bad. Just stay on the right path. Freemasonry is what you make it. Once you live by the protocols, you have nothing to worry about. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. On that note, thank you, brothers, for coming out this evening. I really appreciate y'all. See y'all tomorrow.
Yes.
And Sunday, and when you know the schedule. If you don't know the schedule, if you're confused about what the schedule is for this podcast, please let us know. We've been pretty consistent with Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, but let us know if you're confused. But it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. All right. Have to be invited. Peace to everybody in the chat. Peace to everybody right here. Now you want to come in. Why do you guys come in at the later part of the podcast? Listen, I'm going to let y'all know we start on time most of the time. If we might be 5 minutes late every now and again or what have you. But for the most part, we're on time. So if you come in 30 minutes later, an hour later, you're going to miss the whole thing. So try to be on time next time. 7 p.m. every Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday is 8:15 p.m. and Sunday, sometimes we do 6, sometimes we do 7, but we'll put it up beforehand so you get notice before. So peace to everybody. Thank you for showing up. Really appreciate you, brothers. and we're out of here. Peace.
Out. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.